Whoops, I'm live. And we're off apparently. All right, so thanks for everybody for joining. If they do, it's first one of these, so bear with me as I go along. I just wanted to jump on here, World Bipolar Day, and kind of just talk about some of the things that I've learned over the last 7 years, 7.5 actually. But if I'm being honest, most of that learning has really been done in the last four. I've been sharing my story for just about 3 years now, and it's only been about 3.5 since I even started contemplating it. That those first 3 to 4 years of living with bipolar for me, or knowingly living with bipolar for me, were extremely difficult, and didn't even really get to the point of improving yet at that point in time. So let's not waste too much time. When people jump on, I'll try and welcome them. But mostly when you're watching this after, please, please, please like, subscribe, and share. I'm hoping to get started back into the YouTube quite a bit more here. Get a podcast back up and going. I have a few ideas and plans for it, but I won't kind of share any of those yet until I have them a little bit more solidified. So that being said, let's get into this. If nobody joins, it's going to be a little shorter and no Q&A, but we'll go from here. So first thing, most important thing that I learned, and it took me a long time to learn it, is that you're not alone. None of us are alone in this. Bipolar affects about 2.5% of people, 2 to 4, depending. There's a lot of people out there with bipolar disorder. Funnily enough, I started my Instagram thinking that I was novel, which is not new, especially for me, but probably for many of us living with bipolar disorder. And so I started it thinking that I was going to be one of the first people with bipolar disorder sharing my story, especially a man. And then, I came across like Gabe Howard and, Cody Green, even though he does schizophrenia, they're out there. But what was cool is how many people I met. And for me, sharing my story has really been all about the people that I've met. And it's made me feel less alone. If you ever feel alone, jump on Instagram, follow me at Benefits of Bipolar. There's a couple under dashes in there, but that'll work. Search Benefits of Bipolar and just join that community on Instagram. If you have a question, throw it out there. Feel free to reach out. You're never alone. So let's do the math quick. If you're in a room of 100 people, there's going to be 2 to 3 other people in that room with you that live with bipolar disorder. So you're just never alone. 2, probably the hardest lesson for me to learn was accepting help. And the biggest thing about accepting help is actually that there's so many people out there who want to help, and for me, it was pride that got in the way. I didn't want to accept help. I didn't want to be a burden. I'm a man that was raised to be tough and strong, and my dad was a single dad, and I lived with him, and so all I saw was him kind of taking control of everything, in a good way and making everything happen. And so I thought that someday I would be, that person, a provider. Well, turns out I'm on the other end, and while I'm doing incredibly well now and need very little help from my support system, that wasn't always true. And I think the greatest story of this is that I was working shortly after I opened up about my diagnosis, and I got utterly depressed and didn't know shouldn't say that. I knew what to do. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't keep up with work for the first time, and to this point, one of the only times in my life. And I finally went back and I owned up to that. And I told my manager, and I said, I can't keep up with these like lousy 5 tables that I have right now. Now I'll take 15, right? But at that point in time, I couldn't keep up with the 5. And China, her name was, she looked at me dead in the eyes and she said, "It's about time. Thank you." And I said, "Thank you. I thank you." And she goes, "No, I've been wanting to help for months and you haven't let me." And so I always share that story, think about that story when I'm hesitant to ask somebody for help, because, in another way, somebody else put it one time, when you don't ask for help, you're robbing somebody else of the opportunity to help. Think about how good it feels for us when we're able to help somebody out, right? Especially when we've been on the other end of it for so long in our lives that how great it feels for us. Well, that's no different for anybody else. They want to help us just as much as we help them. Now, this is hilarious. My number 3, you can see it right there. I did not do that on purpose. Oop, wrong way. See, I'm doing a terrible job. Medications reminder. Yep, that's the one. Take your meds. Take your meds, take your meds, take your meds. If you are lucky enough to have found medication that works for you, take your meds. If you are unlucky enough to have not found a medication that works for you yet, keep trying. There's new research out, there's new medications out seemingly every week these days. And a lot of them actually are looking like they're going to be used to treat bipolar disorder, or already are. So that's just something that keep trying, keep going, but keep taking your medications. I would recommend going back through my shorts, probably a year ago, maybe. Yep, somewhere around there. I actually forgot to take my medication one night when I was traveling, and the result was what it always had been in the past. I had a really, really hard time sleeping. But worse, it started about 11 o'clock in the morning, but as that day went on, my shaking came back, sweating in public came back, rapid speech came back, kind of not feeling like I fit in the world, I think is the best way of doing it. Without my medication, I don't feel like I fit in the world. And that makes sense. We take medication to not fix our brains, but to manage our brains, to manage all the connections in there and how they work together. And so it doesn't make sense. But go back and watch those 2 videos. I did them about 45 minutes apart, and it's striking. It was striking even for me, and I was the one who experienced it. To go back and watch it and see just how much more calm and relaxed I was. And a lot of that is, and people are going to say, whatever, it's mental. Yeah, because it works on my brain, but it really is just a sense of comfort. And not having taken them, it's being able to take them, taking them, and then the comfort that results from what they do to my brain, not knowing I took them. So kind of another one, be honest. Be honest with everybody. We already talked about accepting help. So be honest when you need help. Be honest about asking for help and accepting help. Be honest with your clinicians. This one is so important. If you're not doing well, you have to tell them. If the meds aren't working anymore, you have to tell them. And don't worry about same thing, burdening them, calling them. Who cares? That's what their job are. And in all reality, you're making their job easier the earliest and soonest you can let them know if something's wrong. Right. So, I mean, if you can feel yourself going into crisis and it's a Friday or Saturday and you have an emergency line for your psychiatrist, I'm sure they would much rather listen to you then, work with you then, and get ahead of it than find out 2-3 weeks later that you were in a run of mania, depression, ended up needing emergency help, or whatever. We all know what can happen. We all been through many of the scenarios, right? The more honesty we can provide, the better help we can get. And lastly, that goes for your support. Be honest about when you need help. Be honest with yourself about when you're not doing well. Be honest with yourself if you're spending too much money, if you're getting up too early, if you know you're feeling great and this part sucks, but you know you're feeling just a bit too great. We got to be honest about that then. And again, go back to the clinicians, talk to our support family and friends, so that they can help us stay on top of everything. So yeah, welcome to somebody if they just joined. But that honesty with yourself is the only way you're going to stay on top of whether you're going into mania, depression, any of those things. So, well, we lost that person, so we're going to try again. Number 5 is get outside, move your body, whatever you can do. In all reality, this last 6-month stretch has been horrible for me. Physically, for sure. My back was basically unusable for a couple months. I ended up with sciatica around Christmas. That made my entire body essentially unusable. And now, once I finally got the back in shape, I got a horrible burn on my calf. And literally, like, I don't even know what, it's not infected, but it doesn't look great at all either. And so in all of those times, my ability to get outside in the way that I used to and move in the way that I used to, which is running, and which is the way that I prefer, which is running, has been majorly affected. And so I'm here to tell you that once I started even stretching, I mean, 20 minutes a night, 25 minutes a night, that was a really big start for me. Stretching, you get in touch with your mind, your body, and your breathing. And the breathing thing can be so imperative for us. Um, but if anything that we can do to move, for me, especially any kind of running, biking, long, long walks that get me to the point where I'm truly thinking about my breathing, my walking, my running, my gait, whatever it is. And that, for me, that's my flow state. That's how I get my mind off of everything else that's going on around me. Um, and so when we can't move in the way we prefer to, somehow we got to figure out a way of filling that in and filling in the gap. And bonus, sleep. Sleep is imperative, as we all know, in the hopes of warding off any new episodes or frankly staying what 90% 5% of ourselves. And for me, the only way to get sleep is by moving. I I think I went 3 or 4 months after I moved without sleeping for more than 4 straight hours in any one night. I think there was one time that I didn't, and I probably went for a walk or a long run or a long walk or run that day. Recently, in the last 6 weeks or so, I've been sleeping for 6 hours straight, sometimes even 7 hours straight. And that's not a coincidence. That's because I've been moving. That's because I've been getting outside. That's because I've been doing everything that I need to do, frankly, to wear my body out and even my brain out so that I can get to bed. So getting outside, moving is just absolutely beyond imperative, in my opinion, and for my life and for managing bipolar disorder. Number six is it's shocking that I'm saying this. It's try new things. Trying new things with bipolar disorder for anybody who is recently diagnosed, has been diagnosed a long time ago. It feels safe to get into a comfort zone. It feels safe to do the things that we like to do. However, by trying new things, we meet people, we gather new experiences, but most importantly, we gather confidence. If I mean, it started with me with going to the grocery store during the day. I always tell people this. I used to grocery shop between 10 and 11 o'clock at night, pretty much always. There was a day and time I would grocery shop pretty much only after I would be done bartending at 2 o'clock in the morning. It was a little bit darker. There weren't people, so many people there. There weren't lines. It was just a lot easier. And I never had to get overstimulated. Um, I remember the first time I went to the grocery store during the day without headphones on. And it was life changing because I finally knew that that was one more thing that I could do. And then the first time that I walked in to share my story at NAMI, holy shit, was I terrified. But that's what actually set me up for the rest of my life and what I've been doing so far. I wouldn't have had any of the opportunities to speak publicly, work for NAMI upon moving to Rochester, and meet, frankly, so many incredible people, both inside and outside of the mental health world, without trying new things. And my therapist really took me back, aback, whatever the right term is, a couple weeks ago because she said, you really seem to thrive on change or on novelty was the word that she said. And I was like, what are you talking about? Um, and then I've thought about it. And within the last couple of years, I've moved twice, including one new state and now to St. Paul. I've had 3 different jobs. One of them that I absolutely never thought that I could do before. Did it for a year and a half. I organized a walk, did just all sorts of things I never thought I could do. The first time I went to a running group and I won a pair of shoes. See, good things happen when you try new things. But most importantly, and I'm going to always come back to this, it's confidence. When you try something new and you successfully do it, or even unsuccessfully do it, but you get through it, it's going to make that next time a lot easier. And it's going to make it a lot easier to talk yourself into trying something new again. Well, I got through it the last time. In the last couple of months, I talked myself into going to a basketball game by myself. Was it terrifying? Sure. But I made it. And now that doesn't seem like a big deal. Went to a Twins game by myself last year. Same thing. Now it seems like a super easy thing to just go ahead and get there and go to a Twins game. But it's just more important than that too, because again, trying a new thing. I was never on Instagram. Go back and look at my Instagram feed. It was literally non-existent except for some pictures of some ducks, some water, and some turtles. Shocking. Uh, but trying that is why I'm here today, and why I know so many people living with bipolar disorder, and hopefully along the way helping one or two out by sharing my story. And lastly, and this is a big one, the biggest one, because it goes with all the other ones, frankly, except where you are in the moment. Um, this one's really hard. When you start getting depressed, the last thing you want to do is accept that you're getting depressed. When you're super depressed, the last thing you want to do is admit that you're super depressed. You're more likely to find another reason, right? I just moved. I'm working too much. I've been running too much. I've been overwhelmed too much. And sometimes it's just that you're depressed, and accepting that that's where you are, allows you to do multiple things. It gives you a little bit of hope because you've been depressed before and you know how to get through it. It see, brain just shorted out. What can you do? Um, but it allows you to plan, because if you accept that you're super depressed, we know certain things that help us get outside, move, on and on. What Reach out to friends, reach out to family, reach out to your clinician. But the only time you can do all of that is once you accept where you are. And I know, in fact, I just did it this past fall. I said I was tired for 3 months. I said I couldn't get up and move. And finally, what do you know? It hit me like a ton of bricks, because that's the weight of depression hit me finally. And I accepted that. And immediately the next day went outside. That video's up from a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago now. But I got up and got outside, and it's just been consistently improving ever since then. Now, we all know what living with bipolar is like. That shit's gonna go like this. And I'm gonna have bad days. Burning myself wasn't very fun. Trying to go for a trial run around my apartment today and realizing it hurt too bad. That wasn't cool. Seeing one person watching this in the hopes that maybe a few more would have. Hey, you know what? It is what it is. But you have to accept it. And vice versa. Man, does hypomania feel fun. I can only really speak to mania that was alcohol and drug induced from a long time ago. So I wouldn't have known what was going on anyways. But hypomania is a real bitch, uh, especially if you don't catch it, and especially if you don't accept it, move forward with it. Um, give your credit card or debit card to somebody else, shut down your bank account, whatever it is that you have to do, force yourself to get some sleep. For me, it's take an antipsychotic and make sure that I get a good 8 hours. And then that usually brings me back down towards my baseline, right? But it's tempting. And the first couple times I went through it, I tell you what, I rode that shit out. I rode out the hypomania, and it was great. And it wasn't until it wasn't. I had spent way too much money. I didn't sleep for like 6 weeks or 7 weeks. I mean, I slept like 4 or 5 hours a night. The crash was horrible. The crash is what led to that depression I explained earlier, when I finally admitted that I wasn't doing well and accepted help from my boss at work. That's what that hypomania led to. That's what, not, again, being honest with myself, not accepting help, not reaching out to others. And, did I get better at it the next time? Sure. But was I great at it? No, I was not. But now I'm pretty good at it. And it does suck, because the best I ever feel is when I'm either getting hypomanic, probably not when I'm full hypomanic, but on that way up, it's the best you ever feel. I'm focused. I have energy. Um, Half the time I don't need to eat, which is terrible, because you need to eat. And especially with our brains, we need to do that. So um, it can lead, not accepting where we are, not being honest with ourselves is really, and not asking for help are really the three things that lead me in the wrong direction. So I'll leave you with that one last bonus one here that I forgot earlier, but nutrition. I actually just wrote an article. It should be up in the next month or two, hopefully, on Health Union on bipolarmentalhealth.com or something like that. Um, I didn't eat enough for those first 3, 4 months after I moved, and it was horrible for my brain. I had no energy. I had no ability to stay focused on what I wanted to do. I didn't frankly accomplish anything for 3 or 4 months, and I was eating terribly. I wasn't eating till 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Um, I was eating way too much after that, and what do you know? My energy levels and sleep were everywhere. So I've just absolutely been prioritizing getting food. I've gained a little bit of weight, whatever. I feel better. My brain feels better. I have more energy to do things like this. Find, other ways of, or frankly, go spend as much time with my family as I can. And yeah, so I'm rambling now, but at the end of the day, those 7 or 8 things keep me going. And yeah, I appreciate the one person who's seemingly hanging on. I will hang out here for about 30 seconds and see if you have a question. Otherwise, I appreciate you making me feel better. Anyways, I should say it's World Bipolar Day. Ah, thanks. I recognize that name, one of the very first subscribers. So I really appreciate you. Really, really, really greatly. Thank you so much. And I always appreciate the support, and especially from the beginning. So very cool. Thank you. I'm out. Have a good rest of your night. Happy World Bipolar Day. Wore my little Van Gogh inspired shirt for the Superior Hiking Trail. I'm going to enjoy my night.